What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about a Daredevil game and talk about that it seems a whole lot more likely that this game exists now that Wolverine exists. Now, funny enough, I made a video, and this was back in March of 2020, right around the end of the world times, right? And I made this video, and it actually did incredibly well, and a lot of people came back to it when they announced Wolverine, because what was interesting, again, this was a year and a half ago, and this was a 4chan post that talked about a Wolverine game happening and a Daredevil game happening. Now, granted, just because you get one of two, like just because one happens doesn't immediately mean the second one also does, right? Maybe anybody could call a Wolverine game. Anybody could kind of put these two things together. But what's interesting is it doesn't sound like everything's perfect in terms of what they said for Wolverine, but it's like close enough where I'm willing to give it to him, especially because March of 20, one more time, right? So they say Marvel's Wolverine. The 4chan post also briefly mentioned the possibility of a Wolverine game that they said is in early development. Unlike the alleged Daredevil game, this title is said to be more linear and not open world. The leaker compared it to how players progress through God of War 2018. This game could take another 2 or 3 years before it's released. Now, again, like not all of that is perfect. We don't need, and you guys can definitely let me know if you know this in the comments. We know that Wolverine, like right now, when they showed it, was in, or is in still very early development, but I didn't see anywhere in terms of how long they've been making it. Now, it is the Miles Morales team, which is interesting, right? Because that game wasn't even out. In fact, I don't even think that game was announced at the time that this leak happened. In fact, Miles, I believe, got announced at that June PS5 event and then came out the following November, whereas, again, this is back in March. So, did they know that team, like how deep actually does this go? See, here's the thing, guys. This is why I never want to count 4chan out. Like, I know it's sketchy, and I know when you hear that a rumor is from 4chan, you immediately start to be like, I don't know. But I mean, Sly 5, the rumor of Sly 5 originated there, and then you have a Special Nick, right, over on Twitter, really good leaker, saying, no, that actually is true. Like, Sly 5 is happening. But that literally came from 4chan. So these things can happen is basically all I'm saying. But what's the main point, right? Well, yes, Wolverine, again, not necessarily perfect. It could be a more linear thing, God of War, all of that stuff. But they also mentioned Daredevil. And now, again, it falls apart a little bit. It says story-driven title that will release on PS5, Series X, and PC in late 2021 or 2022. They claim to be in touch with someone who either works at Marvel Games or has a close connection to the brand who spilled the beans. It would be set in an open world and set in modern-day Chicago with a noir-style detective game. I always say that word wrong, by the way, so I'm really sorry. There's also, that's already a bit of a red flag since Daredevil lives in New York City, but it could be done on purpose in order to distinguish it from Spider-Man on the PS4. Its map was said to be 65 square miles. That would be more than triple the size of Spider-Man. The leaker explained that the game would leverage the next-gen console's solid-state drives and upgrade hardware to make this possible, which means it would only, and we already said that, right? Next-gen only game. But they also revealed that traversing the game could be more limited compared to the free-roaming Spider-Man. Players might only be allowed to free roam at night, and most missions would take place under the cover of darkness, which fits the story of Matt Murdock. The nighttime travel could be made easier with an echolocation mode that was said to highlight clues related to gamers' active missions. Finally, the combat was compared to Arkham, Batman Arkham, and Mad Max 2015 with a customizable skill tree. So here's the thing. Honestly, I'm going to say I believe this. I'm going to say, and I'm going to put all the money on the table right now, even though I don't have any, is that I do think a Daredevil game is happening. And I'll tell you why. Couple things. Number one, it just sounds too much like what's happening right now. Again, I'm going to Wolverine there, and I know not everything sounded perfect there, but they knew something with that Wolverine. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They were really the only one. Who else was saying that there was a Wolverine game happening? Who? Nobody. Another thing to point out is this Daredevil game is not PlayStation exclusive. Actually, when I thought back to this leak, I thought, wait, were both of them PlayStation exclusives or it was just one of them. Turns out, again, Daredevil, in terms of this rumor, would be on all of them, whereas Wolverine is only on PlayStation. And it actually makes sense, right? Because they compared it to God of War. It's got like the Spider-Man kind of feel to it as well. So maybe they knew something even back then. But another thing that I find very interesting is Troy Baker, which I love the guy, but he won't shut up about this Daredevil game, which I say that jokingly. I actually like that he does it. Anytime, actually every few, I would say, weeks, months, whatever, you go on Twitter, and he's constantly petitioning to do a Daredevil game. He wants somebody to make it. He wants to be the voice of Matt Murdock, which, by the way, I think he'd be phenomenal for. He wants it to happen. In fact, I even believe when Wolverine came out, or when it was announced, I think he quote tweeted or something, and I don't remember exactly what he did. I'll have to find it later, but he did something where it was like, okay, he wants, again, the Daredevil game. So, and also, obviously late 2021, early 2022 is not happening. There's really just no way. However, March 2020 was this leak. Again, they were off with Wolverine. In fact, they say like 2 to 3 years. Obviously, we know it's probably going to be a little bit more than that. So let's say they're around a year or so off. You know what I mean? They're a year or so early, basically. Well, that means like maybe sometime mid next year we could hear about this game, and then it releases probably the following, I would imagine 2023. But I don't know. Troy Baker acts really weird about this, way too much, where it's almost like he is working on it, and it is happening, and he's just trying to kind of drum people up to almost be on his side, but he is already doing it. Like, I don't know. It's got that feel to it to me. And then also, yeah, I mean, this is the fun thing, right? You look back at this, and you're like, man, this person knew something about Wolverine. And Daredevil, it sounds like, why wouldn't you try it? The stuff they say, kind of leveraging next-gen consoles, it would be, a next-gen exclusive game. We also know, by the way, because this was before really a lot of what Marvel's Avengers, I believe, was already out at. Actually, no, you know what? It was not. Marvel's Avengers, years are messy. But no, Marvel's Avengers actually came out after this post, but we already knew about it, I believe. I'm pretty darn sure that that's the case. So, we knew there was a little bit of experimentation from Marvel in terms of, okay, give this studio a game, give that studio a game. But again, like now, well, you have those. You have Midnight Suns. You even look at like Ultimate Alliance, which was a few years before even that. And then you look at Wolverine. It's like, well, obviously they are trying to do different things. Why not try think about what they said, right? Daredevil, maybe a little bit more linear, even though it is open world, right? You can move around, but you're not going to be like climbing buildings, which makes sense, right? You'll be taking place at night. You'll be using echolocation. The combat would be like Arkham. I mean, that makes sense, you know what I mean? Now, yes, could anybody come up with that? Maybe. I actually don't even know if anybody randomly could just come up with that stuff. And then also pair it with Wolverine. You know what I mean? How naturally could somebody figure that one out? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm gonna say it. I've been very bold recently in certain things, at least. Sly 5. I've put the stamp of approval, the podcast now seal of approval on. I do think it's happening. I believe the rumors, and I'm putting it all out there for that game. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna give it all in. I'm gonna say Daredevil is 100% gonna happen, and hopefully we hear about it next year. That'll be my bold prediction. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. If you want to follow me over on Twitter or subscribe to my second channel or support us through Patreon or YouTube memberships, all the links are in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.